I can't marry someone like you. You'll never understand real success. My girlfriend sneered during my public proposal. So I stood up, smiled, and said, "You're right, thank God for that." Then I walked out and never looked back. Sup, Reddit. My girlfriend rejected my proposal in front of a packed restaurant, called me a loser, and said I'd never understand what success means. I stood up, agreed with her, and walked out. 5 months later, she's begging to come back while I'm building an empire and engaged to someone who actually respects what I do. Here's how it went down. I'm Blake, 29 male, been working as a licensed electrician for 8 years now. Started right out of high school as an apprentice, worked under some old school guys who taught me everything from reading blueprints to running 3-phase power in commercial buildings. Those first years were brutal, crawling through attics in 110-degree heat, pulling wire until my hands bled, studying electrical code books every night while my friends were out partying. But I loved it. There's something deeply satisfying about understanding how power moves through a building, how to safely deliver electricity to every outlet and light fixture. It's like solving a massive puzzle where the stakes are people's safety and comfort. Put in the hours, passed my journeyman exam on the first try, then studied for another 2 years for my master electrician license. That test was no joke. 4 hours of complex calculations, code interpretations, and system design. Pass rate is something like 40%. I passed with flying colors. Now I run my own jobs and handle major contracts for one of the bigger electrical firms in our region. Commercial buildings mostly. Medical offices, retail spaces, restaurants, office complexes. The kind of work where you're coordinating with general contractors, architects, building inspectors, and dealing with systems that power entire operations. It's honest work. The kind where you come home tired but satisfied, knowing you solved real problems with your hands and your brain. There's nothing quite like the feeling of troubleshooting a complex electrical issue, systematically testing circuits, reading schematics, following the logic until you find the problem and fix it. Every building I wire, every panel I install, every system I troubleshoot becomes safer and more efficient because of my work. Commercial jobs pay well, way better than most people think. Last year I cleared 6 figures when you factor in overtime and side work. Base pay is solid, but the real money comes from emergency calls, weekend jobs, and specialized work that requires a master's license. I charge $120 an hour for side work, and I stay busy. People will pay for quality when their building's electrical system is on the line. Not bad for a guy who supposedly doesn't understand success. I live in a decent 2-bedroom apartment I've had for 3 years. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Clean, organized, comfortable. The second bedroom I converted into a home office where I handle paperwork, study code updates, and plan jobs. Paid off my truck, a 2019 Ford F-150, 2 years ago. That truck is my mobile office, loaded with tools and equipment. Got about $40,000 in savings and investments. Zero debt except a mortgage. I'm planning to take on for a small house I've been eyeing in a quiet neighborhood outside the city. 3 bedrooms, 2-car garage I could convert into a workshop, decent yard. Been watching the market, waiting for the right moment. My dad drilled financial responsibility into my head from day one. After watching his brother get destroyed in a divorce back in the 90s, Uncle Kevin lost his house, half his retirement, even had to sell his business to pay the settlement. Watching that train wreck taught my dad valuable lessons he passed on to me. Build your safety net first, everything else second. That advice stuck. I max out my Roth IRA every year, contribute to a 401k, keep 6 months of expenses in the emergency fund. Financial security isn't exciting, but it lets you sleep at night. And it means when life throws curveballs, like a girlfriend publicly humiliating you, you're not financially trapped in a bad situation. The job itself is satisfying in ways office work never could be. There's something rewarding about troubleshooting a complex electrical issue, figuring out the puzzle, and making things work. Every building I wire becomes safer and more efficient because of my work. Commercial jobs pay well, way better than most people think. Last year I cleared 6 figures when you factor in overtime and side work. Base pay is solid, but the real money comes from emergency calls, weekend jobs, and specialized work that requires a master's license. I charge $120 an hour for side work, and I stay busy. Not bad for a guy who supposedly doesn't understand success. I live in a decent 2-bedroom apartment I've had for 3 years. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Paid off my truck, a 2019 Ford F-150, 2 years ago. Got about $40,000 in savings and investments. Zero debt except a mortgage I'm planning to take on for a small house I've been eyeing. My dad drilled financial responsibility into my head from day one after watching his brother get destroyed in a divorce. Uncle Kevin lost his house, retirement, even his business. Watching that taught my dad lessons he passed on to me. Build your safety net first, everything else second. That advice stuck. I max out my Roth IRA every year, contribute to a 401k, keep 6 months of expenses in emergency savings. Financial security isn't exciting, but it lets you sleep at night. And when life throws curveballs, like a girlfriend publicly humiliating you, you're not financially trapped in a bad situation. Last month, I rewired an entire medical office building. 220 circuits, backup generators, specialized imaging equipment, the whole setup. The project took 6 weeks of careful planning. The administrator sent me an email afterward that I printed and kept. Blake, your attention to detail exceeded expectations. You'll be our first call for any future needs. Client referred me to 3 other medical facilities. That's how you build a reputation. Quality work, professional attitude, treating every job like it matters. Because it does. One mistake with electrical work can mean fire, injury, or death. I take that responsibility seriously. My girlfriend Vanessa, 27 female, works in marketing for some tech startup downtown. One of those companies with a ping pong table in the break room and a corporate culture based on productivity apps and motivational posters. She'd spend her workday managing social media campaigns and coordinating with design teams. Good money, decent job, seemed happy with it. We'd been together for 2 years. Met through mutual friends at a housewarming party. Travis, my best friend since high school, was dating a girl who worked with Vanessa. They invited both of us to the same party, did that obvious, oh, you're both single, how convenient setup that friends do. To be fair, it worked. Vanessa was gorgeous, the kind of woman who turns heads when she walks into a room. Long brown hair, always perfectly styled. Designer clothes that looked effortless but probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. She had this confident way of carrying herself that I found attractive smart too. Always knew the right thing to say in social situations. Could work a room at parties, make small talk with anyone, remember names and details that I'd forget 5 minutes after meeting someone. Those social skills that make networking and professional life easier. I thought we were building something real, something permanent. The first 6 months were great. We'd spend weekends exploring the city, trying new restaurants, going to concerts and events. She seemed genuinely interested in my life, asked about my work, laughed at my jokes, made me feel like I'd finally found someone who got me. But looking back, there were red flags I chose to ignore because I was thinking with the wrong head. Gorgeous woman shows interest. You don't ask too many questions, classic mistake. Looking back, there were red flags I chose to ignore because I was thinking with the wrong head. Her friends always seemed confused when she mentioned my job, like they couldn't compute why someone like her was dating a tradesman. At parties, they'd ask what I did, and when I said electrician, I'd get this forced smile and immediate subject change, oh, interesting. Then they'd turn to talk about their corporate jobs and exotic vacations. Her parents were polite but distant during family dinners. Her dad works in finance, her mom runs some boutique consulting firm. They'd ask about my career plans, with this tone that suggested electrician wasn't really a career at all, just a temporary stop on the way to something more respectable. Have you ever thought about going back to school? Her mom asked once. Getting a business degree? You could probably manage electrical companies instead of just working for them. I smiled and said I was happy with what I did, but Vanessa later told me I should consider it. Mom makes a good point. You're smart enough to do more than manual labor. Manual labor, like running 480-volt three-phase circuits and troubleshooting distribution panels, was something any random person could do, but I brushed it off. Vanessa seemed different from her family. Down to earth, funny, someone who laughed at my jokes and didn't seem bothered by my calloused hands. I was wrong. Dead wrong. Last month I started planning the proposal. Been saving for months. Picked up extra weekend jobs, worked overtime whenever I could, put together about $8,000 for a ring. Not some massive rock, but a quality diamond. Classic platinum setting. The kind that says I'm serious about our future. Spent weeks researching, visiting jewelers, learning about cuts and settings. The jeweler I worked with, Frank, showed me 3 options in my price range. I picked a round, brilliant cut with a halo setting, elegant without being ostentatious. Frank threw in a lifetime warranty and free sizing. You're doing this right, son, he said. The woman who says yes to this is lucky. Turns out she didn't say yes. I planned it for a Saturday night at Meridian, this upscale place downtown Vanessa had mentioned, wanting to try multiple times, made reservations 3 weeks in advance for their best table by the window. Told her we were celebrating her recent promotion, senior marketing specialist, new title and small raise that she'd been talking about nonstop. She was excited all week. Bought a new designer dress. got her hair done at that expensive salon, posted Instagram stories about date night with my favorite person. I was nervous in that good way, the kind where you know you're about to change your life for what you think will be better. Checked the ring box about 17 times that day, practiced my speech while driving to work. The evening started perfectly. I picked her up at 7 p.m., complimented her appearance. She looked stunning in that dark blue dress. We got seated at our window table with a perfect view of the city lights. The conversation flowed easily. Work stories, vacation ideas, comfortable topics. Couples discussed. Vanessa talked about her promotion. I mentioned the medical building project and the referrals it was generating. Everything was going according to plan. Too perfectly. That should have been my first warning. About halfway through dinner, I noticed some familiar faces across the restaurant. Vanessa's work colleagues. They spotted us and came over to say hello. I'd met them before at company events. Christine, her manager, plus a few others whose names I barely remembered. Vanessa! What a coincidence! Christine air-kissed both of Vanessa's cheeks like they were at some European film festival. Then she looked at me with that forced recognition. Blake, right? Remind me what you do again? I'm an electrician, mostly commercial work, offices, medical buildings, that kind of thing. Oh, how practical. The way she said practical sounded like she'd swallowed something unpleasant. Are you planning to go back to school? Get a degree? Nope. I've got my master electrician license. That's the highest certification in my field. Awkward silence. Christine clearly didn't know what a master electrician license was, or why it mattered. She smiled that smile people give when they're trying to be polite, but don't actually care. The conversation continued around me. They talked about their upcoming team retreat to some resort in Cancun, about networking events and industry conferences, about people and companies I'd never heard of. Every attempt I made to contribute to the conversation was met with polite nods before they redirected to topics I couldn't engage with. We're doing this wine tasting event next month, one of them said to Vanessa. You should totally come. Bring Blake if he's interested. The way she said my name, like it was a question mark, like she wasn't sure someone like me would even know what wine tasting was. Vanessa gave this uncomfortable laugh and said, maybe. We'll see how our schedules work out. Translation. No way was she bringing me to their fancy wine event. I noticed Vanessa's body language shifting. She kept steering conversations away from me, laughing extra hard at their inside jokes, generally acting like she wanted to minimize my presence. The woman I thought I knew was disappearing, replaced by someone desperate to fit into their world. After they finally left, 15 minutes that felt like an hour, I tried to shake off the weird feeling. This was supposed to be our night, our moment. I waited until dessert arrived. Chocolate something, plated like modern art. The restaurant was pretty full. Couples on dates, a birthday party in the corner, the usual Saturday night crowd. I stood up, moved to Vanessa's side of the table, and got down on one knee. The restaurant noise dimmed. Conversations paused. That ripple effect that happens when people realize a proposal is happening. I pulled out the ring box, opened it, and started the speech I'd been practicing in my truck during lunch breaks for 3 weeks. Vanessa, these past 2 years have been the best of my life. You make me laugh, you challenge me, and I can't imagine my future without you in it. Will you marry me? The nearby tables were watching with those expectant smiles. A woman at the next table had her phone out, probably ready to capture the moment for her own social media. That's when I saw Vanessa's face. She wasn't crying happy tears. She wasn't surprised or emotional. She looked horrified, like I'd just done something deeply inappropriate and embarrassing. Blake, what are you doing? She whispered urgently, eyes darting around at the watching crowd. I'm proposing I love you. Get up. Please, just get up. Her voice was tight, desperate. I stayed kneeling, confused. The ring box was still open, the diamond catching the restaurant lighting around us. People were starting to sense something was wrong. The smiles were fading. What's wrong? I asked quietly. That's when she said it, loud enough that the tables around us could definitely hear. I can't marry someone like you. You'll never understand what real success is. The words landed like a physical hit. I felt my face burn. Not just embarrassment, but the deeper shame of realizing the person you love sees you as fundamentally beneath them. The restaurant went dead silent. That horrible, thick silence, where everyone's pretending not to stare while absolutely staring. I could feel dozens of eyes on us. Phones were probably recording. This moment was about to become someone's viral content. I stood up slowly, closed the ring box and put it back in my pocket. Looked at Vanessa, who was now avoiding my eyes, face flushed with what I realized wasn't embarrassment for me. It was embarrassment for herself, for being seen with me. You're absolutely right, I said. voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. I don't understand your version of success, and you're absolutely right that I'm beneath your level. I pulled out my card, left it on the table with enough cash to cover the entire meal, plus a generous tip for the server who'd have to deal with this awkwardness. Thank God for that, I added, and walked out. Didn't wait for a response, didn't make a scene, didn't argue or beg. Just walked through that silent restaurant, out the door, and into the parking lot. I sat in my truck for about 5 minutes, hands shaking, trying to process what had just happened. 3 months of overtime, $8,000, 2 years of my life, all reduced to, I can't marry someone like you, in front of a room full of strangers. My phone started buzzing before I even left the parking lot, Vanessa. I declined the call, started the truck, and drove home. The next few days were rough. I went to work, came home, and tried to make sense of what happened. Vanessa was calling and texting constantly. The messages evolved from apologetic to defensive to angry. First text, Saturday night. Blake, I'm so sorry. I panicked. That wasn't how I wanted things to go. Please call me. Sunday morning. We need to talk about this like adults. You can't just ignore me. Sunday afternoon. I was overwhelmed by the public proposal. You should have asked me privately. You know I don't like being the center of attention. Right. The girl who posts Instagram stories 3 times a day doesn't like attention. Sure. Monday. You're being immature. What happened to communication? I thought we were better than this. I didn't respond to any of it. What was there to say? She'd made her position crystal clear in front of dozens of witnesses. Tuesday morning, she showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't answer, but figured we needed to have an actual conversation to close this chapter. She looked like she'd been crying hair in a messy bun, wearing sweats instead of her usual polished outfits. Mascara smudged under her eyes in that calculated way that's supposed to look authentic. Blake, please, can we talk? I let her in. We sat in my living room, same couch where we'd spent countless evenings watching shows and planning futures that were never going to happen. I'm so sorry about Saturday, she started. I panicked. I wasn't ready for a public proposal. I said things I didn't mean. Which part didn't you mean? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. The part about me not understanding success? Or the part about not being able to marry someone like me? She looked down at her hands. I was overwhelmed. You have to understand. My friends and family have certain expectations about who I end up with. What kind of expectations? She couldn't give me a straight answer. Kept talking around it. Social compatibility. Similar backgrounds. Shared life trajectories. Corporate word salad that meant absolutely nothing and everything at the same time. Never once did she say my job didn't matter to her. Because it absolutely did matter. It mattered more than anything else about me. Vanessa, be honest. If I was a lawyer or a doctor or worked in tech like your friends, would you have said yes? Long pause. Too long. That's not fair. You're simplifying something complex. Actually, I'm clarifying something you made very simple on Saturday night. She tried a different angle. Maybe we could take some time, work on ourselves, figure out what we both want. Translation. Maybe you could get a different job that I'm not embarrassed about. I think we both know what we want, I said. And it's not each other. You want someone who fits into your world. I want someone who respects mine. Those are incompatible goals. She started crying. Real tears this time, not the calculated kind. So that's it? 2 years and you're just giving up? You gave up on Saturday when you rejected me in front of everyone. I'm just accepting your decision. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. The universal signal for time to leave. She gathered her purse, stopped at the door. You're going to regret this. You're throwing away something good because your ego is hurt. My ego is fine. What got hurt was my understanding that you respected me. That's not something we can fix with a few conversations. After she left, I sat on that couch and felt relief. Under the hurt and embarrassment was this sense of freedom, like I'd been slowly suffocating under the weight of her judgment and her family's expectations. And suddenly, I could breathe again. My best friend Travis came over that night. He'd heard about the restaurant incident through the social media grapevine. Apparently, someone had posted about it, though mercifully without video. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, that's rough. He cracked open a soda. But between you and me, I never liked her. You never said anything. Because you seemed happy. Or at least I thought you did. But man, the way she talked about your job, the comments she'd make when you weren't paying attention, I was waiting for you to see it. He pulled up his phone, showed me a post from one of Vanessa's friends, a vague book about people who don't understand their place, and embarrassing moments in relationships. The comments were full of sympathy for Vanessa, treating her like the victim of my inappropriate public proposal. They're spinning it like you ambushed her, Travis said. Like you forced her into a situation where she had to reject you publicly. I shrugged. Let them. People who know me know better. You gonna keep the ring? I hadn't thought about it. The ring was sitting in my dresser drawer, $8,000 of overtime, and hope packed into a small velvet box. I'll figure something out, sell it maybe. Recoup some of the cost. Or save it, find someone who deserves it. The next few weeks, I threw myself into work. Picked up every extra job I could, stayed late troubleshooting problems, worked weekends on side projects. The physical exhaustion helped. When you're pulling wire through conduit or programming panels for 12 hours straight, you don't have energy left to think about failed relationships. My boss noticed the change in my schedule. Blake, you trying to buy a house or something? You've worked every weekend this month. Just staying busy. He nodded like he understood. Woman trouble? Something like that. Best cure for woman trouble is work and time. You're handling one. The other takes care of itself. One Saturday, I got called out to this historic Victorian house that needed a complete rewire. The owners were this retired couple who'd bought it as a restoration project. The place was beautiful. Original hardwood, ornate molding, the kind of craftsmanship you don't see anymore. The electrical system was terrifying. Knob and tube wiring from the 1920s, junction boxes held together with hope and dry-rotted insulation, a panel that probably violated 15 different codes. It was going to be a massive job. How much is this going to cost? The wife asked nervously. I did the math, gave them an honest estimate. They didn't flinch. You came highly recommended. Our contractor said you're the best in the area for this kind of work. We want it done right, not cheap. That hit different. These people, who I'd just met, had more respect for my expertise than my girlfriend of 2 years had ever shown. I spent the next month rewiring that house. It was intricate, challenging work. The old wiring had to be carefully removed without damaging the historic plaster. New circuits had to be run through walls without cutting into original woodwork. Every outlet, every switch, every junction box had to meet modern codes while maintaining the home's period aesthetic. The couple treated me like a professional, not a servant. Offered me fresh coffee every morning, asked thoughtful questions about the work. When I explained why certain things had to be done certain ways, they listened and thanked me for caring about their house. You know, the husband said one afternoon while I was installing a new panel, I worked in finance for 40 years. Made good money, respected career, all that. But I couldn't do what you're doing if my life depended on it. There's something to be said for having real skills. Those words meant more than he probably realized. For 2 years, I'd been absorbing Vanessa's quiet criticism, starting to see my work through her eyes as something lesser. But this man saw it as valuable expertise worth respecting. The Victorian house project led to referrals. The couple recommended me to friends who owned similar historic properties. Those jobs led to other high-end residential work. Turns out there's a significant market for electricians who give a damn about quality. I hired 2 apprentices to help with the workload young guys eager to learn. Teaching them reminded me why I loved this work. The problem solving, the precision, the satisfaction of making systems work correctly. My bank account was growing. Not just from the extra work, but from not spending money trying to impress someone who'd never be impressed enough. About 6 weeks after the restaurant disaster, Travis dragged me to his cousin's wedding. I almost didn't go. Still felt raw about the whole proposal thing, but he insisted I needed to get out, see other humans, remember that life existed beyond work. Plus, open bar, he said. And my cousin's bride has like 6 single bridesmaids. The wedding was nice. Small ceremony, big reception, the kind of casual but nice event where people actually seemed happy instead of performing happiness for social media. That's where I met Emma. She was a friend of the bride, sitting at the table next to ours during dinner. We ended up in the same conversation group, talking about work and life and everything except what we thought the other person wanted to hear. So what do you do? She asked when it came around to me. Here's where I used to feel Vanessa's judgment kicking in. The need to qualify it, explain it, apologize for it. Not this time. I'm an electrician, run my own jobs, specialize in historic renovations and high-end residential work. That's awesome, Emma said, and I could tell she meant it. My dad was an electrician. Some of my best childhood memories are him letting me help with small jobs, teaching me how circuits work. I can still wire a basic outlet if I have to. No suggestions about going back to school. No hints about career advancement. Just genuine interest and respect for what I do. We talked for hours. About work. She's a nurse practitioner at the Children's Hospital, saves kids' lives for a living. About hobbies. about that comfortable range of topics that strangers who connect naturally can discuss without effort. When the wedding ended, we exchanged numbers. She texted me the next morning. Thanks for the great conversation last night. Would love to continue it over coffee sometime if you're interested. We went to coffee that week, then dinner the next week, then a hike the following weekend. Nothing forced, no games, just two people who enjoyed each other's company. Emma never once made me feel like my job was something to overcome. She'd ask about projects I was working on with genuine curiosity. When I explained complex electrical problems, she'd listen and ask follow-up questions instead of glazing over. I think it's impressive, she said once. Most people have no idea how anything in their house actually works. You understand entire systems. That's a serious skill. I told her about Vanessa eventually, about the proposal, the rejection, the comments about success and understanding. Emma looked genuinely shocked. That's heartbreaking. But honestly, she sounds exhausting. Who has the energy to be embarrassed about someone's honest work? Her whole family did. It was like I was this temporary situation she was trying to upgrade from. Then you dodged something worse than a bad marriage. You dodged a lifetime of feeling like you weren't enough. That's when I knew Emma was different. Not just understanding, but fundamentally seeing the world through a lens where people's value wasn't determined by their job title or income bracket. 3 months after meeting Emma, I won a major commercial contract. A medical complex was expanding, needed someone to handle the entire electrical system for their new wing 2 floors, specialized equipment, backup generators, the whole setup. The kind of contract that could transform my side business into a real company. I hired more apprentices, rented a small office space to handle the paperwork and logistics, started the process of transitioning from electrician who works for himself to guy who runs an electrical contracting company. The work was intense but satisfying. Every day I was solving problems, building something tangible, seeing my business grow. The Victorian house couple had connected me with an architect who specialized in historic renovations. Now we were partnering on projects, building a reputation for quality work. Vanessa texted again around this time. I heard about your new contract. Congrats. That's really impressive. I didn't respond. She texted again the next day. I've been thinking about us a lot lately. About what we had. I miss it. I miss you. Still didn't respond. Third day. I made mistakes, I see that now. I was shallow and materialistic, and I let my family's expectations matter more than what we had together. If you'd be willing to talk, I'd like to explain. I finally responded. Not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted closure. Vanessa, I appreciate the message, but we both know you miss the idea of me more than you miss actual me. You miss having a stable guy who treated you well. You don't miss the electrician with the calloused hands whose job embarrassed you. I hope you find what you're looking for, but it's not going to be with me. Then I deleted her number. For real this time. Emma and I had been dating for about 5 months when things got serious. She'd met my family. My parents loved her. I'd met hers. Her dad, the retired electrician, spent 2 hours showing me his old tool collection and asking about modern electrical codes. Her mom was warm and welcoming, treating me like someone worth knowing instead of someone being evaluated. One night we were at her apartment, cooking dinner together, just a regular weeknight. She was chopping vegetables while I handled the chicken. The kind of comfortable, mundane moment that's actually what real relationships are built on. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. That ring you mentioned once. The one from the proposal. Do you still have it? I paused mid-flip. Yeah. It's in my dresser drawer. Haven't really figured out what to do with it. Would you ever use it again? Or is it too tied to that memory? I thought about it. The ring itself wasn't the problem. It was a symbol of commitment and future planning. The failure wasn't the ring's fault. I could use it again with the right person. She smiled. Good to know. 2 weeks later, I took Emma hiking. We'd been going to this trail regularly. Nice overlook at the top where you could see the whole valley. It had become our spot, the place where we'd had some of our deepest conversations while sitting on a flat rock watching the sunset. I'd been carrying the ring in my jacket pocket for 3 days, waiting for the right moment, not planned, not choreographed, just right. We reached the overlook, sat on our usual rock. The valley spread out below us, late afternoon light turning everything golden. Emma, I said, pulling out the ring box, I know we've only been together a few months, but I've never been more certain about anything. You make me feel seen and valued and respected in ways I didn't know were possible. Will you marry me? She started crying before I even opened the box. Happy tears, the real kind. Are you sure? She asked after saying yes. I mean, I'm just a nurse. You could probably find someone more impressive. I laughed. She was echoing my own old insecurities back at me. Emma, you save children's lives for a living. I fix wiring. Who exactly is supposed to be impressed by whom? The ring fit perfectly. Same ring, completely different meaning. This time, it wasn't a symbol of trying to prove something. It was a symbol of two people who'd found each other and recognized something real. We're planning the wedding for next spring. Nothing fancy. Just family and friends who actually care about us, not what we look like together on social media. Through mutual friends, I heard about Vanessa's situation. The restaurant incident had damaged her reputation more than she'd anticipated. Turns out publicly humiliating someone during a proposal makes people question your character. Who knew? She'd left her job. Details were unclear. But Riley, a mutual friend, hinted it had something to do with professional conduct issues. She was dating someone new, some finance guy who apparently checked all her boxes on paper. Riley said he was condescending to waitstaff and treated service workers like furniture. Perfect match, Riley said with obvious sarcasm. They can be snobs together. I didn't take any satisfaction in her struggles. Mostly I felt sorry for her. She's so worried about appearances that she can't enjoy what's actually real. The restaurant where everything went down closed last month. Emma and I drove past the empty building, and she asked if I felt any nostalgia. Only gratitude, I told her. That moment, humiliating as it was, redirected me towards something infinitely better. The business is thriving beyond anything I imagined when I first got my master's license. The medical complex project led to more commercial work, 2 more medical facilities, an urgent care center, a dental practice that's expanding to 3 locations. Word of mouth in the healthcare industry moves fast when you do quality work. I'm currently bidding on a major solar installation contract that could expand the company into renewable energy systems. Commercial solar is the future, and electricians with the right training and certifications can make serious money in that sector. I've been studying solar design and installation during evenings, building the knowledge base to bid these projects confidently. The apprentices I hired are developing into solid electricians who I trust to handle jobs without constant supervision. Training them has reminded me why I love this work. Passing on knowledge, watching someone struggle with a complex problem, and then have that aha moment when it clicks. That's satisfying in ways a bigger paycheck could never be. I'm looking at expanding the business further next year. Maybe hire a project manager to handle scheduling and billing, so I can focus on the technical work and business development. The company that started as just me with a truck full of tools is becoming something substantial. My parents are proud. My dad, who spent 30 years as a master plumber, understands exactly what I've built. You're doing it right, he said last week over Sunday dinner. Building something solid, treating people fairly, doing quality work. That's real success, son. Not this nonsense about titles and office buildings. Mom keeps sending me real estate listings for bigger houses. You'll need more space once you and Emma are married, she hints constantly. Maybe space for grandchildren? She's not subtle, my mom. The bank account is healthier than it's ever been. Between the commercial contracts, the side work, and smart investing, I'm in a better financial position at 29 than most people reach at 40. And I did it without compromising who I am or apologizing for honest work. But the real measure of success, the kind that actually matters, isn't the bank balance or the contracts or the business growth. It's waking up Monday morning excited about the week ahead instead of dreading it. It's being proud of what you do instead of making excuses for it. It's finding someone who sees your worth clearly instead of treating you like a temporary situation that needs upgrading. Emma wears the ring to work every day, even though hospital jewelry policies technically discourage it. She just slides it on a chain around her neck during shifts, then back on her finger the second her shift ends. Shows it off to colleagues whenever anyone asks. Tells anyone who'll listen that her fiancé is an electrician and she couldn't be prouder. Sends me pictures of herself at work, wearing it with captions like "saving lives" while wearing the most beautiful reminder of our future. She doesn't see my job as a problem to solve or a situation to upgrade from. She sees it as part of what makes me who I am. The problem solving, the attention to detail, the satisfaction of making things work correctly. She recognizes those traits in her own work and respects them in mine. That's the difference between someone who sees your worth clearly and someone who's always measuring you against some imaginary standard you'll never meet. Vanessa needed me to become someone different. Emma just needs me to keep being exactly who I am. Last week, I ran into Christine, Vanessa's old manager from that tech startup, at a coffee shop downtown. She didn't recognize me at first. I've been hitting the gym more regularly, got a haircut, generally look more confident than the guy who used to show up at company events feeling like he didn't quite belong. Then, she did a double take when I was leaving. Blake, wow, you look Different, more confident or something. Life's good, I said simply, not elaborating. No need to give her my life story. I heard you're doing really well. That electrical company everyone's talking about. That's yours? Word travels fast in this city. The medical complex project had gotten attention in local business circles. An article in the Business Journal had featured our company as an example of skilled trades businesses adapting to meet modern demands. Yeah, business is solid. Staying busy. She got this weird look on her face. Regret? Embarrassment? Hard to say. I owe you an apology. The way I treated you at that restaurant, the way we all did, it was wrong. Classist, really. Vanessa told us you were just temporary, that she was planning to... Well, anyway, I'm sorry. The revelation that Vanessa had explicitly told her friends I was temporary should have stung more than it did. But honestly, it just confirmed what I'd already figured out. I was never going to be good enough in her eyes, because my worth was tied to my job title, and that title would never be impressive enough for her social circle. Thanks, I said, appreciating the apology, even if it came about 2 years too late. But honestly, it worked out for the best. Sometimes the worst moments redirect you toward better things. I left before the conversation could get awkward. Sometimes the people who reject you are actually redirecting you towards something better. Sometimes what feels like the worst night of your life is actually the first night of your actual life beginning. Vanessa's probably still out there somewhere, dating guys who look good on paper, but treat people badly in person, still worried about what her friends think, still measuring success by titles and income brackets instead of character and compatibility. I hope she finds happiness eventually, but I'm not waiting around to see if she does. Too busy building my own. The wedding's in 4 months. Small ceremony, Emma's dad is walking her down the aisle, my dad's giving a toast. We're honeymooning in Colorado, hiking, camping, spending time outdoors instead of posing for Instagram in some overpriced resort. After everything that happened, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Doing work I love, building a business I'm proud of, engaged to someone who values me for who I am, rather than who she wishes I could become. That's what real success looks like. Not the title on your business card or the zip code where you live, but the quality of your character, the value of your work, and finding people who recognize both. Vanessa was right about one thing. I don't understand her version of success, and thank God for that. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.